Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Stephen. Hello, Brianna. Hello, Rain. Hello. So, all right. First of all, can you guys, you can hello there. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Oh, this is just like old times. All right. This feels familiar now. So I'm taking, that means I'm, right. I'm going to assume that that means that Stephen can hear me and that people can hear me. Right. And Brianna can hear me. All right, cool. And I can see you guys to the extent that I ever did. Has it? That is funny. How's the kids? Yes, I will. Good day indeed. Yes. The kids. Don't get me started on the kids. Okay. It is very, all right. Let me also get my board set up. It is great. It is actually good to see you guys. Um, I know some of you obviously, and I obviously don't. Well, nothing is obvious in physics really, but I do know some of you, and I do know that I know some of you, and I fondly remember some of you, and I don't know some of you, and I am already getting ready to fondly remember those of you who I don't even know yet. One thing, I just want to set up my board also. I totally missed last week. We're going to talk about that in a second. We obviously have to get caught up, or I have to get caught up with you guys. Those of you who know me probably weren't even surprised. Like, yeah, he occasionally teaches. Um, um, you might think like I didn't even know there was school or something last week. Oh yes, that's true actually. So I'm stalling right now because I think still people will join, because how would you even know to come here unless you did? But I want to find out. But I did miss last Thursday because I honestly did not even think school had started, because I am a problem, and I'm honestly right now just trying to join you all with a board. I want to get to know those of you who I don't know. So you will have a syllabus and all of that. Pardon me. I'm also thinking that if you got the email that asked you to join me here today, which I appreciate, then maybe you also got the email PS that asked you to join a Google Classroom, and we're going to do that. And so we're going to make sure and you may have already done that for your lab instructor, but it is two separate ones, one for lab and one for, so I'm going to, all right. So first of all, everybody really, oh, wait. Okay. So hopefully in a moment, you will see, you don't have to read what's on the board right now. You can ignore them about to erase it. It's not for you, but hopefully you do see that there is a board and that we will use it. Okay. I'm just, I'm assuming everybody's being very patient right now after, I'm just making sure before we go any further that everybody can hear me and see me, and see that there is this board now that's hopefully like taking up a big percentage of your screen. Hopefully, well, however you do gallery view or speaker view or whatever, hopefully, and people are, I have to let people in, hopefully you see this blackboard on which some, okay, hopefully you see this board, and hopefully we're all in the right place. This is like supposedly the second class, but really the first class of the fall semester 2020, a version of Physics 204 at John Jay, and people are in the waiting room. I'm letting in, hold on. And it's of course the Zoom version, which is fascinating, and we're all loving every minute of. The audio. Oh, okay, sure. Got it. All right. So I try to keep up with the chats while I do. do this Zoom business. Again, I know some of you, and I'm really pleased to see some of you again from, last spring when the quarantine started for everybody in the middle of the semester, it was a big adjustment for, I think, for teachers and for students. Some people adjusted fast, some people adjusted slow. I'm still adjusting. I did have the summer to keep teaching as well and try to get more adjusted. But when it all happened, it happened while I was teaching a class called Physics 203, which many of these people in this room were in. So we all like dove into this Zoom thing together. And I don't think I did a great job with it. It was kind of a mess, but I think the students in the room did for the most part. And so anybody I see back here who made it through Physics 203, like I almost know for a fact that they did well, depending on who they are, and they're here now. So that's good. Anybody, and so hopefully I'll do a better job with this Zoom thing this time. And the rest of you, so I will show up to classes. So from here on in, and I'm still assuming that you can hear me and stuff. From here on in, the Tuesday and, I know we actually meet funny time. No, yeah, it's Tuesday and Thursday, right? Yeah, the Tuesdays and Thursday lecture and recitation are both from now on here at this Zoom address, at my address. I do both. If you don't know this already, if you didn't take Physics 203 with me or at John Jay, the term recitation actually means nothing when it comes to physics. There's no difference between recitation and lecture. They're both the same, meet for an hour and a half, and they're either both lectures or they're both recitations, depending on your point of view and depending on how much everybody participates. People that already know me kind of know the best way to get me to shut up is for you guys to talk. And I will create artificial means for that, like votes and breakout rooms and stuff, but I will just keep on talking if people don't stop me. And I'll be writing things down. And especially in this physics class, there's actually a lot more to write down and a lot more math, honestly, or a lot more abstract math than there was in Physics 203. This class will seem much more mathematical once we get it off the ground. In a way, I mean, it'll look more like what you expected physics to look like in a way. Again, I'm comparing, we'll find out in a minute who has what in their background, but this course will look very mathematical, and all of it will be written down on this board right here that hopefully you'll see. And there is a syllabus and all of that, which will all be in the Google Classroom, which will momentarily. So the live classes will be very much like this, me talking, this board here, hopefully you guys interrupting a ton and asking a ton of questions, which, we'll start doing soon. And hopefully you guys using the chat. Whenever I'm talking, I do try to keep checking the chat. I vastly prefer questions in there that are not private. Like private kind of slows me down and freaks me out. I mean, it has to be private, but like I totally try to keep, so if you don't want to actually interrupt me or something, you could totally put a question in the chat, and I do try to just like stop on a dime for that when I can. Maybe not a dime, but there's much more organization to the material of this class. There is much more structure and organization to the material of this class than anything about my personality would ever lead anybody to suggest. Like I appear to be a mess, and I am. One of the reasons that I gravitate, no pun intended, but one of the reasons I love physics is that it cleans itself for me. Like physics is clean and organized when it's thought about a certain way, and you will find, hopefully, that the material in this class is even more super organized and clear, like clear as to what we're doing at any moment where we are, than the Physics 203 material, and it is more mathematical. I'm not saying it's easier. Many people find it harder. We'll get into that. I don't want that to be the case, but we'll get into that. But like as far as what we're doing when or where we're going or where we've been, you're going to find once we get rolling, through a number of media, you're going to find that it's pretty, you won't be surprised about what's going on in the curriculum. Again, that doesn't mean the material is easy, but one thing I want to say right away before we're going to make sure that we're all okay with the Google Classroom aspect of it, which is how you get work to me and I get work to you. But the actual flow of the material that happens right here, let me first, before I forget, send around a link to everybody right now. This is the one benefit of this. This link we may have had this link last semester. Last spring. I'm not sure, but if we did, it certainly wasn't as useful as it will be now. What I'm sending around is, I'll put this in Google Classroom as well. And again, there is a syllabus. The syllabus is in Google Classroom, but I may not have uploaded it yet. We'll check that in a second. But for those of you who have had Physics 203 at John Jay, whether with me or not, let me say right away, absolutely the grading policies and the structure and the way everything's done is the same. Like the grading policy, 2 exams, and then all your homework counts a ton, all that stuff. If you ever took, and I'll find out, again, it's like, as long as you took Physics 1 at John Jay, whether it was with me or Walters or then you expect the same type of grading system, which means expect that your homework will make a big difference. And even if your exams are a little rocky, that the more homework you hand in, the more your grade will be good. If that was your experience in 203, that's the same thing here. Okay, hold on a second. But what I want to give everybody is this. Whoop, sorry. Oops, sorry. Yeah, and you could, okay, so I just sent around a link in the chat, which you could test right now. I believe it's the most up-to-date link for the YouTube channel. Where, oh, and tell me, and maybe it's not, actually that might be straight to a playlist. Oh, but if it is, it's the correct playlist. What I want to make clear right away is that every one of these classes, including this one right here, is recorded, will be recorded. This was true in Physics 203 last semester, but not to the same helpful extent, I think. Every one of these classes will be recorded. For that reason, I understand, at least in part, if that's a reason that you don't like to put a video up of yourself, I get that. So yes, due warning, everything will be recorded. Oh, just about every night, what I try to do is right away, as soon as it's done coding and everything, I put the recording up on YouTube at the channel that I think I just linked. Oh, it goes right to the playlist. Okay. So the link I just gave you actually goes straight to the playlist. I don't know if that may not be, so let me give you another link also. Maybe if you want to get straight to the channel, there's a more direct way to do it. But that playlist that it goes to, okay, so there's a channel where all this stuff will go on YouTube, like Physics 203 stuff from last semester is all there. Anything we did. All this Physics 204 stuff will go there, and we'll go into a playlist called Fall 20 or whatever. But the most important thing really, wait, no, that is important. So every class we do, you should understand that at least by late that evening, it will be fully available for you to do whatever, replay, play parts that you walked away from, you slow down, blah, blah, blah. For good news or bad news, every one of the classes is totally unedited. I stopped even trying to edit them or anything. So there's a lot of garbage, of course, garbage at the beginning or stuff that's important, something about grades or something like right now, but that you never want to hear again. You do have to wade through the garbage, but obviously everybody knows how to do that. You could just turn on a video and turn off the sound and do whatever you're doing until you get to the parts that you need. I'm trying to say that every class we do here, yes, then you can replay that night, and I hope you do. And things like practice exam, what I started doing with, I think it was this Physics 203 class last semester, when I experimented with them and seems to be working is when we do a practice exam for an exam here, which we will, like when I give you a practice exam in advance before an actual exam, and you will in fact get solutions to that practice exam before the actual exam. You might not get them right away. Like you might get the practice exam, have a couple days to like stress about it or try to, see what you can do, blah, blah, blah. Then you will get solutions to the practice exam prior to the actual exam. Now, it's never quite as prior as people want. Like it might be up against the wall, but you'll get them. One thing that will happen now is one way that you'll get them is I will talk through those solutions on a recording that I'll post. Like it might be late at night, it might not be as early as you want, but I'll do things like walk through solutions to practice exams on posted videos, and I have done that. The extra thing I want to make super clear, if it's not obvious already, by going to this playlist, every single Physics 204 class from this summer, every single one was recorded and put up and put into that playlist that I think you're automatically linked to now. So that does mean that this class is already recorded, in other words. And I'm saying that in a kind of specific way because while technically that's true of 203, it was more of a mess at the time. I didn't know how to do this as much, blah, blah, blah. 204 though, literally the playlist itself is the course backwards. Like it's in the wrong order, I suppose. I don't know if you can flip that or make your own playlist or whatever, but it literally is every single class from the second to last one all the way to the first one. It's missing the last class. And so not only do I encourage you, feel free to use those when I don't say something clearly here or something like that. But also I will warn you, because those are organized enough, I think, and expansive enough. There will be times here where I will literally assign you to listen to those lectures in advance before we come the next day, like instead of textbook reading or instead of whatever. And it'll be able to make our discussions much more efficient. I mean, and I know other people have tried this, but I actually do believe in this. I will ask you to watch the pre-recorded lectures sometimes in advance so that we can get right down to material when we meet. I'm not going to do that just yet, of course, but in any case, they're all there. Okay. So that all goes to say, I'm talking already way more about this kind of stuff than I meant to, but this virus is still weird. It was weird when it started. I mean, it struck me as weird when it started in the middle of spring, last spring. The weirdest thing maybe to me now about the whole virus situation is the fact that we're all sort of getting used to it and it's becoming less weird. Like, that's really weird to me. I know we're all sort of getting used to it, and I very much hope that nobody here has like suffered in a real way in their families or in physical ways, or known people that have. I mean, I hope there's a minimum of that. But I know that even in the best case, this has definitely made school weird for us all. And that includes me. Like, I literally missed last week because I literally did not even know school had started, because I'm finding it that hard to juggle everything from home with 2 kids, as somebody asked. Now I won't do that again. I know school started now, and I'm psyched. But I think this whole situation has hit every home in a different way, and no one's situations are comparable, and no one has to explain why they're having a hard time with this, even if they're alive and not dead. Like, you don't have to explain that to me. So it's all a way of saying the physics is going to get real soon. We're going to hopefully start doing some actual educational stuff in a minute. But at any time you have to walk out of the room and go and deal with something, or just take a break because this is like so, annoying to have a teacher in your head, in your bedroom or whatever. You don't have to explain that stuff to me at all. And you don't have to hide like the video. Like, I know how exposing all the videos are. I'd frankly rather there be a little bit more video of people while they're actually in class talking, but I know then that means you feel like you can't leave without me knowing. And I don't want to know when you're going in. I want everybody to understand you're here to get what you can. And then get the rest of it at night if you can from the recordings. And it's the same thing with me. I will So long way of saying something I told the 203 people. I thanked Stephen for this last semester. If you could at least, I don't mean at least, but I totally get why people don't want to put the videos, but it does make it weirder to teach. And the less, so anybody could put any picture at all of it doesn't have to be of you. It could be like what Stephen did, but it could be a picture of a Simpsons character, or like but just put a picture. So at least I start associating something other than a black screen with you, whoever you are. I mean, one thing that's really a disadvantage for everybody in these Zoom conditions is, I think you all know this, link to the channel. Oh, thank you. Great. Thank you, Nikki. Okay. So Nikki just put the actual link to the actual channel of all the stuff. I appreciate that. And I will organize that channel more of the videos. Like, there'll be a separate playlist for just this class, and there's the playlist from last semester's class, which I think is the most useful resource to you. But yeah, great. So that's the link to the direct channel Nikki just sent. What I'm saying is, I think it's really weird. You all know that I'm sitting here like in a room looking at a screen, and all your names are on the screen, right? Like, whether you're taking perfect notes right now, totally engaged, or you're off having a beer or something, like, your name is sitting there with a black box behind it. It's as though you've been forced to show up to class wearing a name tag. I mean, can you imagine going to college every day with a name tag, so that even if you do say nothing or whatever, I mean, it could be good for some people, but it also really calls attention to who you are all the time. And I think that's weird for you. So what I want to say though is that's already happening. Your name is sitting there in a box on my side of the universe. And if all that ever sits there the entire time is your name and nothing, like just blackness and no comments and it does become much more difficult to view you as a human being. And the more I can view anybody as a human being, the more difficult it is to give them a bad grade. I mean, it's just that if I know who you are and you're on and I know you've been doing anything and you're on the borderline, I'm so easily moved to compassion or fear or something. But if someone has to get a bad grade, it's going to be someone that was just a name on the roster the entire time and who, like, I couldn't even get into a breakout room. So all that's to say, I think it's a disadvantage that you guys walk in with name tags like this. But if you could just put a picture up or something, just something, so that I start associating something more colorful or identified with you, that would probably help you, whoever you are in the class. Also, please interrupt. Like, you don't have to keep your things on mute as long as there aren't dogs barking in the background. Like, I would rather hear you than me. Already I'm babbling too much. So I'm going to stop babbling and get down to some, but I'm also assuming people can't hear me. Otherwise someone says, oh, thank you. I totally appreciate that. There's a video. Great. I feel like I'm in the world. Thank you. Of course, also, side note, anybody who did have Physics 203 last semester with me, if something was if they didn't get a grade or something is unresolved and you haven't been able to find me, that's not totally shocking. I'm a very hard guy to find. I swear it's not personal. My mother's looking for me all the time. My wife's looking for me all the time. But here I am. So if there is something unresolved from last semester, the best thing probably is to send me a private chat in here and say, can you hang on for 5 minutes after class or whatever, and we'll work it out. I think there aren't any unresolved issues, but if there are, please bring it to my attention. What we're going to do now is check out this Google Classroom thing and make sure our first goal to stop me from talking is to make sure that we can all get a 50 today on the first homework. Most homeworks are worth up to 50 points. Again, if you're in 203, you sort of know how that, if you were in 203, you sort of know how that works. If not, I'll try to be quick and explain, but each homework is worth up to 50 homework points. It's possible to get all those homework points and have them positively affect your grade. It's possible to get all those points, even if you get all the answers wrong. It's all about completion and thoroughness and clarity and blah, blah, blah. But in order to get the 50 points, you have to sort of know how to hand in the homework to me and how to get it back from me. So we're gonna literally do a test of that right now to make sure everybody's in the same Google Classroom. I'm gonna give you a fake but real. I'm gonna give you a real assignment right now, like our first homework. Maybe you already got one last week. I'm gonna give you a homework assignment right now. I'm gonna say it vocally, but then you're gonna see it. All it's gonna consist of is you taking 2 pieces of paper of any kind, writing your name on one piece of paper and writing your preferred email address on the other. By that, I mean the email address that you're actually using for this Google Classroom. Now, if you haven't signed into Google Classroom, you have to do that for this to work. So I'll put around the code again if need be. But whatever email address you're using to sign into Google Classroom, and let me say that again, you do need to. I apologize, we don't use Blackboard in physics, we use Google Classroom. We take that risk because we think it's much better. But you do have to sign in with it. You can use any email address you want. It doesn't have to be John Jay. It doesn't have to be Gmail, but please make it an email address that clearly includes your name in like a clear way. So like if my name's Dan Yaverbaum, my email address could totally be like Dan Yaverbaum 1111, at blah.com. But if my name is Dan Yaverbaum, I really don't want to put in an email address that's like Cool Guy McGee 7 or something, because literally the wrong grade might go to the wrong person at the end, and this has happened before. So anyway, assuming you have an email address that has your name in some clear way in it, I'm going to ask you on one piece of paper to write your actual name, and in another piece of paper, write your email address, okay? That's the whole homework assignment, but you're going to do it in the next couple of minutes. And I'm going to ask you, you'll see this in a second, I'm going to ask you to scan both those pages in to your computer or phone somehow, or take a picture of each one. Do whatever you need to get both those pieces of paper into your electronic system. It could easily just be take a picture of each page, but the catch, and I'm going to put this in writing for a second. Some of you know this, some of you don't. The catch is I'm going to need you to scan those, somehow get those 2 pages into your computer and turned into one PDF file. It could be Google Docs. Google Docs is fine, but it has to be PDF or Google Docs, not a Word document, not a JPEG. Not, as ridiculous as this sounds, and believe me, I'm boring myself even saying it, but what I need, like every homework thing, and in fact every exam to be, is I need one file that is ideally a PDF, but could be a Google Docs, but one file containing all the pages. So in this case today, we're gonna have 2 pages on purpose just to make sure of this. One file containing all the pages, that's what constitutes like a homework assignment or an exam or whatever. That's what you're gonna turn into me in a moment as soon as you get the assignment from me. So we're literally gonna do this right now, okay? And everybody's gonna turn it in. And as long as you actually turn in, like in real time right now, as long as I see electronic record that you've turned in a PDF, that consists of 2 pages of those information, then you will get a 50 like right now, and you'll see the 50. And that's the exchange that I want to have. That's like our first exchange of grade currency. So we're going to make sure that everybody who's sitting here with me today literally gives me a thing that I approve and gets a grade that they approve, a 50. And it will count. It'll stay in the book. Okay, it's like our first, and we'll move on once we sort of have critical mass on this. But from here on in, and again, for those of you who already took Physics 203 or took it with me, this is just an easy 50 points, hopefully. But this is the way from here on in you'll turn in anything and everything, including exams. So like, we'll make sure right now that there's no confusion about that process. And it has to be this, I hope you don't find it too rigid or too hard, but it is this rigid because, and it literally happened last semester with certain exams, if you turn in an exam that instead of being one file is one file per page, like if you turn in a multi-page exam that's multi-files, it really risks not getting graded at all because it jams the whole system so badly, like for real. Also, I'm just going to say this also to explain why I'm doing this. Also, you'll find hopefully that I do accept late submissions within reason, and I accept resubmissions. I think of everything in life as a draft. Even this class is a draft for the next version of this class. Everything is a draft. You can always do better and give me a newer draft. And anytime you do that, you are only risking a better grade. Like you would never, ever, it would never make your life worse to give me another draft of something. Either I'll just grade the newer draft because that's all I have time for, and presumably that's your better one, so that's what you want me to do, even though it's later, or I'll like see both and grade both and totally incorporate the notion of your progress into my approval of your second draft. Like it only benefits you. So that said, I will take homework assignments a second time. I will, even if it's because you then went to class, I went over it, you saw new correct answers that you didn't see before, and now you're literally using my board to recorrect your homework and re-hand it in. You can totally do that, and you'll find it's not worth it to do it a lot of the time, but you can totally do that, and I will take that because I don't consider that cheating. I consider it like you using class time effectively. Because of all that, because I totally take resubmissions and late submissions, it's all the more important that if I see 2 documents, if I see 2 files in your, I pull up your student thing in Google Classroom for some assignment. If I see 2 files there, I want to absolutely know right away, oh my God, they did 2 submissions. They're that good. I do not want to have any confusion that it took 2 files for you to give me 1 submission or something like that. So that all said, and like it enables me to actually grade everything on time, kind of, and fairly, and that's important. So we're going to do this right now. Enough of my talking. Again, if you haven't joined Google Classroom for this lecture, please do. The code was sent to you in an email, but I can send it right now again. Oh, did someone just? Yes, thank you, Nikki. Yes, okay, so I'm catching up now too. Thank you, Nikki, twice. So Nikki sent the, is that the right code though? That really is the code? Wait a minute. Okay, I'm just make, for some reason that doesn't look familiar, but okay, I believe that. But I'm gonna go to the Google Classroom right now and see what's what, and I'm gonna send you all, anybody who has joined with that code, you will see an assignment in a second, but let me now see. That is funny, I don't know why. And hopefully someone will confirm, whatever we're doing right now with Google Classroom is for lecture and recitation, which are the same thing, Tuesdays and Thursdays. In other words, this is not about lab, that's a separate one, but okay. Oh, I do agree with that code. I'm sorry, my bad. I totally appreciate it. So that code that Nikki sent around, I appreciated it anyway. I kind of didn't think it was right, but it totally is right. So thank you. Now, how many people we have? Wow, great. All right, so we have a bunch of people who have already joined. I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. That's great. The number of people I should have all checking this. The number. Hang on, and you'll see in one. Okay, the class has, so there's 19 people in this class. So if you have, and how many people are here? All right, so we are missing people. But now let me know if right away you get this. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, you'll verify in a moment. Each of you should receive, if you sign up with Google Classroom, to your email address that you used for Google Classroom, you should like right now receive an assignment called trial number one or something. The assignment says to do what I just said, like just write your name on a piece of paper, your email on another, somehow get the two pieces of paper into your system, create, and everybody does this differently. It's one of, and for some people this is a joke easy, and for some other people this is of actually very challenging to turn 2 pages into one PDF. And it was for me until it wasn't, like everything in life. So this is to make sure we're all on the same page. Please, right now, once you get that assignment, do it like right now. Just make 2 pages and then just submit it right now, and you'll know you did it right once you get 50 points from me, which will happen like right now. And again, just for anybody who's just joining, this is how we're getting to know each other right now. This is how we're getting to know each other in a grading context. And we'll pause just to make sure we're all okay. And I do recognize, and I really appreciate it. I see people are totally putting up the pictures. Thank you. And I do recognize so many people from last semester, and I hope their grades were good. I think they were. But let's see what's happening here so far. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so far what I'm seeing, this is good. Sorry to be quick. So a number of people, clearly you got the assignment, which is great. I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 in already, and hopefully about 10 people have already. Hopefully you can confirm that if you handed one in, you just got 50 points, I think. I mean, hopefully someone can confirm. The 10 people that I just gave 50 points. And now I'm going to do something I don't want to embarrass, but like, I don't want to call anybody out or anything, but everybody who's sitting here right now should do this. Like, this is for 50 points, which means, so there's 5 people that have signed up with Google Classroom, which is great because I can see their names. I'm not sure if I want to call anybody out specifically, but I do have 5 people here who did sign up with Google Classroom, but who haven't turned this in yet. It would be great. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions or anything, but I just want a PDF, or if someone didn't get the assignment, like there's, as I say, I kind of don't want to call anybody out, but I also want to get this straight on the, like Brianna, you're good? So maybe people walked away. Well, all right, if, okay, fair enough. Okay. All right, so like, oh, wait. Oh, okay, I see. So I'm reading the chat. Okay, got you. Oh yeah, all right. No, this is fair. All right, so some people are telling me in the chat like why they can't do this right now, but they get it and they'll do it later, and that's totally cool. Like, as long as I'm doing this probably to make sure everybody gets everything. If you get what I'm saying, if you've joined Google Classroom but you can't scan in now for whatever reason, but you get what, and you're going to do it later, then great. And please do, because again, it's just 50 points. You'll just get 50 points for doing it later. If there is any issue right now that you kind of don't want to say in public, but can hang out right after class, let me know. Like, again, I think I've now heard from pretty much everybody. I think there's still 2 people in the room who did sign up with Google Classroom, but didn't do this yet. I'm just going to hope that they're okay. There are some people that haven't signed up for Google Classroom yet. That's going to be a little, so if you have friends, please let them know. But one person did ask a very fair question in the chat too, like, will there be a syllabus? Yes, absolutely. I mean, there is a syllabus. And in fact, that's one thing I was just trying to post right now to everybody. Bear with me. That's definitely going to be posted in your Google Classroom by the end of today. Should be within 5 minutes. I don't know. It seems to be missing at the moment, but there definitely is a syllabus. 2 things about the syllabus. Syllabus usually means 2 different things to people. Sometimes syllabus means rules, policies, and procedures, like the contract between you and me and the grading and all of that. There definitely is one of those, and you definitely have every right to have it. And I'm trying to put it in right now, but at worst, you'll get it by tonight. If you mean that sort of thing, like the grading policies and procedures, there is one. You'll have it at worst by tonight. But again, if you happen to have taken Physics 203 at John Jay, then I promise it is the same set of rules and expectations and all that. And really, like, we really actually mean Physics 203 in a way to be practice or a draft course for Physics 204 for all of you. And if you did well in 203, that's a very good sign. Like, I do think this course is harder. I'm going to say that again. It does get harder for a lot of people once we get rolling. But if you did well in 203, then you're starting in exactly the right shape, and you're not, you know, you have everything you need to go. But if by syllabus somebody means the order of material, the curriculum, the schedule of classes, we actually don't post that as much as we used to anymore. I can post one of those too, but what that is literally is now the YouTube playlist. Like, I think I should flip the order of it maybe to make things easier for people, but literally the order of the playlist is the order of the classes, and the titles of each one of those lectures in the playlist is trying to be the title of the topic. So that, like, that's actually our most accurate curriculum at this point. Oh, but there's one other thing that someone just reminded me before. Okay, about, and we will, there's 2 other things that someone just reminded me about that syllabus question. One, if you still don't see it by the end of this class, please someone remind me, because I am just scrambling to, it's in the Google Classroom thing somewhere, and I'm just trying to uncover it. So remind me, please. But two, what I hope you did see, especially because I'm now being so boring, hopefully you did see that I posted the official homework number 1, like the thing that is due next class, the thing that we might even start today if we can get to it. But if you did this first little trial assignment and you got your 50 points right now, that means we're on the same page. We know how to do homework together. And by the way, if you have a question, please ask it right now. Like, okay, wait. Is there gonna be a question? Oh, yes, wait, that's a great question. Oh, good. All right, thank you for the chats. Again, notice with the chats, I'm always a little bit behind, like I sporadically check the chats, but I will try to stop on a dime once I see a question in the chat. So bear with me. Yes, so Nikki asked, well, first of all, thank you, Brianna, for saying, yes, I'm good, I'm submitting. Okay, cool. And I'll check that again. Nikki's asking everybody, is there gonna be a classroom for lab? That's a great question because now that you just asked it, now I know that you haven't gotten one. Yeah, the answer is yes. There is a separate classroom for lab.
It's on Blackboard.
Well, what's on? Oh, the address for it is. I mean, the
yeah,
code.
like he made he put it as an announcement, like the code.
Great. Okay, thank you. And the person is that you, Nikki, talking right now? Is that you who just said that, or who? Or
No,
who said
it was
that?
Lydia.
Lydia, thank you. All right. So, oh, and I see you light up. All right, cool. All right, thank you, Lydia.
Hey, Lydia, if you have the code, can you send it in the chat? Because I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'll send it.
Thanks.
Thank you both. I know this is really like a weird thing to say, but can I make it super clear to everybody that the little conversation that just happened between those two, like Lydia and that was Lydia and Brianna? No, who? This is a compliment I'm about to give. Could someone tell? Oh, that's a good question. She was, but that was, and me as Brianna,
that's Nikki.
Oh, Lydia and Nick. Okay, sorry. Those two people, the little chat the little conversation that you just had, that wouldn't have been possible really if they kept their thing on mute all the time, the way we're often instructed. And that little conversation they just had kind of required some guts because they're just like talking in front of everybody and, kind of to each other. I want that all the time. Like obviously if 7 conversations like that were happening at the same time, that would be weird, but I can't imagine that happening. I really encourage everybody. That just grounded me and made me feel like I know where I am in the class now with you guys. Like when those things don't happen, I really will go into outer space. So I totally appreciate that those two people just said that. And thank you. I see that the code is now in the chat. Thank you. The fact that he did that he put it in Blackboard was the better thing to do, of course, because Blackboard would be the first place that everybody should look. Like I should have done that and didn't. It is true now that he's done that, we don't use Blackboard in physics. We should always keep links there, at least to all this, so you could so you can find things, but we don't use Blackboard. We use Google Classroom. And so yes, it's a separate one for me and for him. And now that we're talking about him, wait, no, it's no one bad. What? My bad? Oh, okay. So it's the code that Lydia sent around, not the one that, okay. But one thing, let's pause on that for a second. The he in this case is Wu, yes? You all have Professor Wu for lab? Is that who you're talking? Could I ask some?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, and that's all of you, I believe, because the class is small. Yeah, that's all of you. Could someone remind me, what days do you officially meet for lab?
Wednesday.
Oh, right.
5:55.
Ooh, sorry, that's brutal, I know, but okay. Wednesday at 5. So last Wednesday, did you meet for the first lab?
No.
No, he says it begins tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Oh, but he officially, in other
yeah.
words, so he officially notified everybody on that day and gave you these codes or whatever. He officially put it in Blackboard and said, you'll meet for the first time tomorrow. That's what you're saying. Got that right? Is that what you said? Okay, that's very helpful to me. Okay, and let me ask one more question. That all makes sense. Let me ask one more question. Professor Wu, I can't remember. Has any of you had him for lab before?
No.
Yeah, for the spring.
Oh, you did. So you had, no and yes. I wish I could I do this can you all, how can we do this fastest? First of all, can everybody right now just put up an electronic hand, like either do the thumbs up thing or the electronic hand thing? Just if you hear me right now at all, I just want to back up and test it. Yeah, just put up some kind of hand just saying that you're here right now and you hear me, just so we can. Cool. All right, that's all. I'm gonna wait a second. I do want everybody, cool, thank you. Okay, and thank you for doing your actual thing. Okay, and then Lydia and Drew, everybody can hear. So my next question is, okay, thank you. So it seems like most people are hearing me. So if you could put your thumbs down now, this is kind of important for you to know. Put your thumb up if you took Physics 203 at John Jay last spring. If you took Physics 203 in the spring, John Jay, which, oh, it is a lot. No, okay. A lot of you, okay. And I'm still looking. Oh, and I think Mohammed, you did. Mohammed, you there? I think you did.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, and you took you had you took 203 in the spring, yes?
Yeah,
Like,
with you and Professor Wu.
right. That's right. Okay, great. So then my second question is, because could everybody who did not have physics 203 in the spring at John Jay, if you took physics 1 anyhow or anywhere else, even if it was as long as if you did not take physics 203 in the spring at John Jay, could you raise your hand or put up a thumb or something? Yeah, okay. I see 1, 3. Okay, Lloyd, Casey, yes. Here and okay, here. Oh, Brianna. Okay. And those people who are now. So I'm going to start to. I'm not trying to single anybody out, but I am trying to get to know people. So yeah. If you want to put any, yeah, those people who just raise your hand, that's probably the best way. So I don't embarrass anyone. Those people who just raise their hand, that like if you didn't take 203 with me in the spring, could in the chat right now, could you just put where you did take physics 1 or when? I don't really care if you put it privately or not, but just in the chat right now, like even if you took physics in the fall at John Jay with me, but just tell me where you took physics 1. Okay. Oh, okay. Right. Oh, with the Walters duo. Okay, got it. Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, and so we have more than one person. I see. I'm confusing some names. Got it. Oh, right. Okay. So I'm reading the chat. All right. So there. Oh, and sorry. And Ms. I think that's everybody. Ms. Kim, which I'm not pronouncing it for. Wait. Oh, I see. Okay. This is great. So here's the thing. There's a few people that never took it at John Jay. There's a few people that did not take physics 1 at John Jay. And all that means to me, what that means is that you don't know me and I don't know you as well. So it just means that like the 3 or 4 of you, like you may know physics much better than anybody in the room, maybe, or maybe not. You may know physics much better than me. I know there's like 4 people in the room that just don't know me or my people as well as everybody else. So those 4 people I do want to get to know, like maybe if they could stay 5 minutes after class today or something. I don't want to single anybody out, but I do know that if you know the gradings, anybody who went through 203 with me or the Walters team or anybody, any of us, we all do things the same. And it takes, and for some people, it takes some getting used to. Like there's advantages and disadvantages to the way we do things. So for the 4 people who don't know us at all, I kind of want to just reach out and say, like, whether you hang out for 5 minutes today or Thursday, let me get to know you a little bit and you get to know me so that you don't have any surprises in the class. Like one thing, just as an example to everybody who took physics 203, whether it was with the Walters team or me, one thing is true. We have one midterm exam. I'm saying this to everybody now. One thing that will continue to be true. We'll have one midterm exam. I have not said the date yet. The date, there's no document that says the date yet, but you will not be surprised by it. You will get the date soon. There'll be one midterm exam and there'll be one final exam. Neither one of those will be a surprise when it happens. For both of them, you will get a practice test. We like to say a week in advance. Maybe sometimes it's more like 5 days in advance, but you'll have a practice test that will very strongly resemble the actual test. Like it'll be like about 80%, 85% identical, and then have, obviously some differences, but the format will be the same, all of that. You'll have a practice test before the actual test. You'll be given solutions to the practice test before the actual test, and there will not be any surprise quizzes or anything like that in the course. That's and very quickly too to everybody, the grading system that I keep alluding to, which is written out in detail in the syllabus that I'll give you, but the basic grading system is we're going to take the score that you get on the midterm exam, the score that you get on the final exam, and the final grade that you finally get from Professor Wu for all of your lab work, right? Which is a lot, right? All of your lab work together will constitute one grade from Professor Wu, and like that grading system is in that syllabus and all of that. But we take that, so let me say this slowly, even though I know a lot of you have experienced this already, but maybe you didn't even know what was happening when it was happening. So let me make as clear as I can. And this is, again, true for all the physics at John Jay. We take your midterm exam, your final exam, and your lab grade, and we basically straight up average them together. Like essentially each one is worth 33%. I mean, it's not perfectly that way. Like actually lab is worth a little bit more than that. And if you do better on the final than on the midterm, we sometimes give you a little bit more weight for that. Like there's little weighting factors that are put in to help you. But basically it is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, lab grade, midterm exam grade, final grade. Those get averaged together and become one number. Those numbers are usually not curved or anything, but maybe sometimes there's like extra credit points or something on some of the exams. But those three straight up numbers are averaged together to get one final average, and then all the homework credit points that you earn by doing credit all get added on to that average, and and then you might also get 1 point for class participation. Without going into the really boring details, the point is that every single homework you do accumulates points up to 50 each time. You're getting those points for how thoroughly and completely you do it, and how clearly, not necessarily how correctly. And after you've accumulated all of those homework points for the whole semester, like say we have 10 assignments and you did perfectly on every single one, so you'd have 500 homework points. Then at the end of the semester, we divide that 500 by some scaling number, some number that is the same for every single student, but is different from semester to semester, so I can't tell you what it is yet. But we divide the 500 by some number. Let's say the number is 50. If the number that semester is 50, we would divide 500 by 50. That would make 10 homework credit points that you have. That 10 points would be added onto your test average to make for your final average for the final grade in the whole class. And 10 points, of course, is a lot. The example I just gave is more or less a typical example. Like the typical student will probably get 8 or 9 homework points added onto their average at the end, like making a difference from a B- to a B to a B+ or whatever. Like you will typically get around 9 extra points for the homework that you do if you do it. People that super rock homework can get like 15 points. And people that do no homework ever are making a big mistake. They won't be punished, but they'll get like no extra points. And then their exam average will just be their average. And sometimes people do badly on some exams. So that's a quick summary of how the grading works for everybody. That is what happened, whoever you had last semester. And I don't know if you all know this, but I'm very lucky. I love all the physics professors that I work with, like whoever you've ever had for lab, Wu, Walters, or Lou, they are all handpicked. I mean, they're all there for a reason. And I love working with all of them. And I totally trust that if you had an experience with one of them, that put you where I need you to be for this class, definitely. And if you're about to have an experience with Professor Wu, all I can say is that guy is smarter in his second language than I will ever be in my native language. And I think math is like a third language to both of us where we speak in common, but he's absolutely one of the smartest and most reliable people I've ever met in my life. And also a really good painter, which you would never otherwise know unless I tell you. A really good painter. I don't mean a house painter. I mean, but anyway, a landscape painter. But so you're in very good hands with Wu. And when in doubt, if you don't understand something that I teach, you're of course welcome to go try to get it clarified by him or any other professor that you've had before. But everybody should know, especially if you didn't take this class before, it is true that your final grade does come from me. Like you get a grade from Wu that then gets averaged in to everything you do here, and you get one final grade in this college, for physics that included the lab stuff. So you should always go to Wu if you want further clarification or something, or you feel alienated by me. But in the final analysis, you definitely want to work something out with Wu. And if there's a grading dispute, you want to make sure somehow it gets to my table before too long. Okay, that's that. This is the thing. We're going to start. We're actually going to start doing work now. I put in the first homework assignment in everybody's box. So if you're bored by what I'm saying now, you could certainly start taking that out and looking at it. It's the first thing that will be due Thursday. That homework, a thing on a spring, which is very much related to the lab you're going to do tomorrow, like they're related. That homework, you're going to take out a separate piece of paper. You're going to try to answer all the questions on a separate piece of paper. You can use any and all resources you want. Like you can go on Google. You certainly can work with your friends. You should work with your friends. But and you don't have to cite sources on a homework. But show all your work on the separate piece of paper. Make every question super clear what you're answering. Like don't do it on the sheet itself. Don't print out the thing on the spring sheet and try to write on there. Write on a separate thing. Take as many pages as you want. Spread out as much as you want, and then compile all your work and all your boxed answers into one PDF to be submitted for Thursday. We're going to start the course by going over that on Thursday. I mean, start the real material. If you want to get a jump start, you could watch the video, already on YouTube, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to take a breath in a second, but a super important thing before I forget is this. Hold on. Let me give you a link. Oh. Hold on. Bear with me. Okay. This is going to look like, this is really inappropriate that I'm about to do this. Well, let me stop for a second. I assume people can still hear me, but are there any, I'm just totally babbling. And again, this is really boring. What I really like talking about is physics, really. And once we get going, we really will. But I just know grades are important, all that stuff. And, there's always anxiety. So I'm just trying to get this all out of the way. But I still have to give you a syllabus. I want to address one last thing now, and I know the time is running out, but have I confused everybody? Are there any questions or anything at all yet about anything I've said? Okay, because the one other, as long as we're addressing grades and all of that, one other thing to clarify that I believe is the experience you all had, the midterm exam and the final exam will be take home and will be open everything. This, which I believe is what we did in Physics 203 last semester. This is partly because of the virus, of course. I mean, partly because we're all doing classes by Zoom now, but, and I don't want to over talk about this right now, but let me just be as clear as possible. For years and years and years in physics, excuse me, excuse me. For years in physics at John Jay, we have often given midterms that were take home and open everything. That's unusual in science classes, I know, perhaps, or it's unusual at John Jay maybe, but that's what we've been doing in physics for a long time, here and there. Not every single time, but often we give midterms as take home midterms. Final exams generally in physics at John Jay generally were the in-class, conventional experience of everybody sitting there for 2 hours and taking an exam. Generally, that's the way we did final exams there. But occasionally we did finals that were take home for whatever reason. Now that we're in Zoom classes, 100%, I'm telling you right now, your take home, your midterm exam and your final exam will be take home, and they will be like anywhere from 24 to 48 or set, like each one of them, you'll have a long time to do. You'll have at least a night to do whatever, before you turn it in as a PDF to an assignment portal in Google Classroom. And you will be told then and now that during the 24 hours you have to complete the exam or whatever, you can and should consult any resource you want, including all your friends in the class, including the ghost of Albert Einstein, if you have a Ouija board, including any internet site you want and that you trust. You'll be allowed to consult any and all sources. And we have 1,000 reasons for this. And we'll get into, if you don't already know them, we'll get into them then if you want. But it is the case that our exams are totally take home and totally open everything. They are graded accordingly. Like the main reason that I do that, and that I believe in doing that, the main reason is that I believe it's much more fair than anything else. I believe what cheating is getting an advantage on something that other people don't have, right? To cheat is to take something that isn't yours. And so there's 1,000 ways to cheat in exams and stuff by, bringing in notes that you're not allowed to bring in or something like that. And then your friend, your friends that studied and don't bring in those crib sheets, like don't have that advantage, and then you're cheating. Well, to me, the easiest way to make sure that there's no cheating is to allow everybody to cheat as much as possible. And I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but and the more I test this theory, the more shockingly, I find that evidence comes in to support the idea that as long as you all are allowed to do whatever you want on these exams, and that it's understood that you all have the full advantage of the full internet and the full 24, and you don't have a time squeeze in the same way as on a regular exam, blah, blah. What that does to me is level the playing field and make everybody have access to the same stuff. And it makes it a different type of test, of course. It makes our exams more, you could argue, like essay tests or something like that, where it's or research tests, like it's a matter of how well you do your research in that short amount of time and how well you turn that research into final conclusions. But I just have to warn everybody, what we're testing on both exams is we're testing how much you've learned the material. And so you're allowed to use every single resource in the world you want to teach you that material, because there's no reason you should be limited to me. You can use your friends to teach you the material. You can use online resource, Wikipedia, Khan Academy, 3 brown, 2 blue, whatever, all those things. You can use them to learn stuff. But in the final analysis, you put answers to, you solve physics problems on a piece of paper and write your name to it and turn that in. What you're turning in is your level of understanding of that material at that point, and how you write it down and what you write down and how many steps you include make it utterly clear, like whether you understand the material or not. Just like an essay, where in the final analysis, you could do as much research you want for the essay and get experts to tell you all this stuff. But once you write the essay, if you can't form a sentence and you just copy symbols, you know, from a resource that you don't barely even speak the language, it comes through, right? So I just want to say right now that we're going to give you as much resources as we can in advance so that there's no surprises on the exams, and there's not going to be any surprises, that you have the world's experts, if you know how to access them, at your fingertips in Google and in Wikipedia and all that. But some of you know how to use those resources a lot better than others, and some of you know how to trust sites that are good and not trust sites that are bad better than others, and some of you know how to actually learn from sites rather than just copy from them, and all that comes through in these exams. Why am I saying all this? I don't want to, I feel like they've been going really, I really like doing this on this take home stuff. And I think for those people who do it right, it's more relaxing to them and better and all of that. And I have not had a major issue with cheating or anything like that. But to get straight to the point, the one resource that is the funniest that people use, that we've had a lot of recent experience with, the one resource that people get very tempted to use on when we have these take home exams and these open book exams, people really like using Chegg. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm not going to write it down in the thing, but the Chegg stuff, you know, where you can like have an account with Chegg and then you send them, I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. I can't imagine you do, but there is this, at least one site where you can have an account with them and you can like send them questions of any kind, you know, from a textbook or from our documents. You can cut and paste our questions, send it to them. And I guess they pay people to sit there and work through problems and then send back solutions. And if you have an account with them, you can get back solutions to every question that I ever might possibly ask, including a question that I would ask in the middle of an exam that you would have time to turn around. So I'm here to say this. If you use Chegg on our exams, you should be ashamed of yourself. And that like, you should know in your heart that you probably are desperate, and you probably are doing that because you really are not getting what's going on. And the thing is, all I'm going to say is you should be, I should never even use the word shame in advance. Like, no one's done this yet in this room. I shouldn't even use that word shame. But what I'm kind of harshly saying is, if you do use Chegg on the exams in this class, I am not going to actively punish you for it. I'm not going to look to, we've gone through this phase before. I'm not going to look to see who's using Chegg and who's not. I'm not going to. And I'm not going to try to sue Chegg or anything like that. What I'm going to tell you is that what we have found hilariously time and time again is, if you use Chegg, chances are, I won't know it right away that you use Chegg, but chances are the stuff you're going to put in the exam, if you just straight up use Chegg, I mean, if you just cut and paste, it's going to end up being marked wrong on our exam and marked like down. and not get a lot of points because it isn't good stuff. Like they don't actually know how to answer our questions very well. And we didn't even know everybody was using Chegg for a while until we were seeing all these bad grades and feeling bad, like we were harshly grading people for stuff that sort of looked like physics, but really wasn't answering our questions at all. And it turned out that a huge percent of the time in the last few semesters, a huge percent of the time when people are getting a lot of when bad grades are happening on exams and we actually have to look back and see what's going on here. It turned out that the bad stuff was Chegg stuff. And I don't mean to disparage the man or the company, but I do. And we never had to actively ever say to someone, you're cheating or anything like that, because technically you're not. Like you can use any resource, like I stand by, you can use any resource you want when you do these tests, but you got to know that's why they're actually good tests and why we actually let you, because some people will use the resources a lot better than other people will. And one resource that you really shouldn't overtrust is Chegg, because it is just a cut and paste factory and there's no sense of context of how the questions relate or what they mean. What I would recommend instead, now and then I know we have to wrap up. I know this is a long speech, but I couldn't say this for 204. We not only have all the lectures on YouTube now that you can watch if that helps with the material, and we've got other professors you could, but I do have to say Oh yeah, please. I'm sorry. I've been talking. Please do make a WhatsApp group or any, definitely the more you can work together. And I mean on exams. And I know there's 4 people in the room that never had me before. They all might be horrified right now to hear that I do open tests like this. They might even be thinking, oh great, this class is a joke. I'm not gonna learn anything. No, I'm telling everybody right now, I think our tests are hard. And I think you do learn stuff in this class, especially this class, Physics 204. I don't think it's a joke at all. But I definitely think that the best way to learn is with other people and other colleagues. And I think that's what's becoming harder and harder to do in a Zoom environment. So anything you guys can do to make a WhatsApp group or a WhatsApp group or anything like that, please do it. And you can literally use that group while the test is out there in circulation. And it will benefit people. I have funny stories about this, but as long as you use each other to explain things to each other and get each other to understand, then once you understand, you write down your thing on a test, then you can get an A on really hard material and for very fair reasons. Again, by the way, I don't care if everybody in the class gets an A if they get it fairly. I don't need people to fail, but I need the A's to be fair. So yeah, please make those groups. But let me also, as long as we're doing this, cool. And I know we're running out. I know this is a lot to talk about. Let me say again, though, there is homework due Thursday. It's the thing on a spring. If you've signed up to Google Classroom, you'll see it there. That is a real homework assignment. It will start off looking like sort of review, but it gets very hard. The last question is very hard. You can use whatever resource to do that question, but you should try. You should take the last question very seriously, especially if you find all the questions up until they're easy. But I don't expect everybody to get the last question exactly right without help. I would actually think people were cheating if they just literally wrote down an answer to the last question. So when we meet together in 2 days, we're going to just dive right into going over homework 1. No more of this nonsense. We'll be doing physics, I promise. So I apologize. It's taken us a while to get there. But in the meantime, let me tell you this one other resource before I forget. Okay. It's a little cheesy and a little inappropriate that I'm doing this, but as long as I'm slamming Chegg for as long as I am, when I first heard about Chegg, what I decided to do was make my own cheat sheet for this class, because literally that guy Chegg is making money by posting bad answers to questions that are asked in this class, all the time. I see it all over the place on Chegg once I look. So instead, I don't want your money. I'm not doing this for money, but I took the last 3 final exams of this class I took 3 recent final exams, and with 2 of them put full solutions and full explanations of the solutions all together in a book that is on Amazon for $7. It's $7, but I'm not looking for I don't want the money. And if you have to spend the money, I'll give you the money, whatever. Also, if I remember, I can give everybody a PDF of this book so you don't have to buy it at all. Just remind me. But what I want you to know is that there's a book out there of just literally our final exams in this class with answers explained. If you're going to use anything to cheat, use that, because that's what it's for. And again, the practice exam that you get for your final exam here probably will be taken straight out of that book. But they don't, in other words, yes, use every resource, but use resources wisely. And I'm not asking you to spend money, but remind me, I can give you the PDF of that if you're interested, so that it's not a money thing. Other than, of course, I do need the word to spread so that, like, you know, I can feed my children, whatever. But all of this is to say, once the material starts on Thursday, I think it's fantastic material. I like the material much more even than in Physics 203. I love this material. I think it does get hard and very mathematical, very abstract. Like, we're going to do differential equations. We're going to do multivariable calculus. Really, not ton, but whatever. We're going to do aspects of those that we need for this class. We're going to do Maxwell's equations. That's where we end. It's really exciting material. It will start Thursday with a transition from spring motion, which we also look at in the lab, and we'll build from spring motion to the motion of ultimately sound, electricity, magnetism, and light. That's quick. Now, I know I've talked I hopefully will never talk like this again. Hopefully we're going to be doing problems and discussion from here on in, but that is 1:30. So is there, and I will put the syllabus in the thing. The thing that should be the most clear, I hope, is that you have a homework due Thursday, and that we'll meet again here 12:15 Thursday, and you'll meet for lab tomorrow with Wu. Is, I think, somewhat clear now? I know that, oh yeah, I'll look in the chat quickly. Oh, cool. Okay, it looks like you guys are making group good. And so maybe I'll say, right, and the 4 people that I'll say, I'll leave everybody alone for right now. If there's no questions, I'm going to go and let you go. We'll meet again at 12:15 Thursday with your homework. But the 4 people that never have me before, again, just casually, I'd love to chat with you at some point, maybe right after class that Thursday or something. I will also make office hours. I haven't done that yet. Oh, and last thing too, reaching me. Reaching me is always a disaster. I really am bad that way, and I'm even worse. I'm worse in this whole quarantine thing. But 2 things. Number 1, if you send me a notification in Google Classroom, like whether with your work, if anything you put in Google Classroom, like a comment on your work or something in the stream, which I think you're allowed to do, that does go to my Google Classroom email address, and that is the best way to reach. I mean, I'm still bad with that, but certainly that's a better email address than my John Jay one. But if you really need to reach me, like really the best thing probably is to send a private chat during class and say, can we make an appointment or something like that? And if we make an appointment, I will keep it. And especially if you need a recommendation or something actual like that, once if someone actually needs a recommendation or something, and once they get in contact with me, we make an appointment, then I'll probably give that person like a way to text me, because I don't mess around with those kind of deadlines. But if it's anything just in the flow of the class and stuff, if you can try to keep things within the Google Classroom stream or the chat here, those are the best ways to reach me. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm gonna look at the chat one more time. Cool. Oh, cool. All right, so you guys are taking care of this. That's great. So I will remember I'm gonna find the syllabus and put it in, but if we're good, I'm gonna say goodbye. Yes, bye. Okay, I'm gonna going once, going. Very nice to meet you all. Oh, that's it. I'm sorry. Right, someone asked. Oh, the official textbook for this class. Technically, there is an official textbook. And technically, it's the exact same one that you would have been asked to buy for Physics 203. Technically, it's just different chapters in it. It is very expensive. What do I want to say about this? Do I really think that you really need? Okay, here, I'm going to write down what the official textbook is, but especially under these conditions, I have any PDF of this or any old edition or in Korean, I'll write down the name, but I really don't encourage anybody to spend the hundreds of dollars or whatever it is for the whole thing the textbook is another resource for reading and looking up things when things are not clear here, but we barely assign anything from the textbook. The homeworks don't come from the textbook. The exams don't come from the textbook. So the textbook is at best another resource, and I'll write it down right now so that you can know what we follow, like what chapters we're following and stuff. But if it's not too late, please don't spend the money on the whole actual most up-to-date online version of this. It's not worth it. I'm writing it down now so everybody can. And I'm gonna write down. Okay, I just wrote down the name of the book, the authors. The authors are Holliday, Resnick, and Walker. Maybe that's not clear. It's 3 different authors, Holliday, Resnick, and Walker. The book is called Fundamentals of Physics. Technically, we're up to edition, I think it's 11E, I think technically. And the chapters that we follow for this course, like just so you don't think I'm like making up the material or something, I think are chapters 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like I wrote there. But let me say again, that's technically what the book is so that you can follow or something. But I don't, if you can find any edition of that book, like the 9th edition, the 8th edition, there are even editions of that book before Walker joined. And if you find an old edition or a translated edition or a bootleg PDF, fine. Like that is fine. It just so that you know where we are with the material, that's what it's for. And I do think for textbooks, the best explanations for this material are to be found in the book. Like I did pick the book, don't get me wrong. I think the book is as good as textbooks get. I just think these days, what textbooks do for us in this kind of situation is very limited. But yes, that's the official textbook for the class. You don't have to spend money on it if you don't want. The real textbook, honestly, really is the YouTube lecture. Like what we do in lecture is what you get tested on. And what you get tested on is in all the old practice tests that we will give you at any time and that are in that book that I put on Amazon. Oh, there you go. Well, there you go. Great. Thank you. I think what we all just engaged in was totally illegal, probably. But that's great. Okay, I love this class already. And I really did enjoy. Again, those of you who I know from last semester, I feel like we all got through something together, and we're just going to get through something together again. But this course is, I like the material here is wow. Is all I have to say. All right, so you're very good people. I'm now keeping you late. I apologize. Have a good community hour, whatever the heck that means. And be safe. And saving money. That's right. Okay, and may the net force be with you all, and goodbye.